What's good, guys? It's your girl Kiesha Arielle and welcome back to my channel. Now in today's video we are going to be talking about how the weather impacts your moisturizing routine. So let's jump right into it. Now in my previous video we spoke about the cuticle layers of each hair group and how that determines our hair's porosity. So with that we are going to explore why our hair care routine, more so our hydration and moisturization routines, are greatly affected by the weather. So as we know, of the three ethnic hair categories, those with Afro-textured hair have the lowest cuticle count, which explains why we often experience increased dryness. Now, especially during the winter months, our hair tends to become even more dry simply because the cold weather is notorious for sucking moisture out of the hair, leaving it vulnerable to breakage and split ends. Now, a lot of us may not have been aware of that fact, that the cold weather actually affects our hair in that kind of way. And honestly, I wasn't even aware of that until recent years. So you know, if you weren't aware of that, this is going to explain to you even further why we have to switch our hair care routine during the colder months. Also with that, this also explains why certain ethnic groups naturally would have more cuticle layers than we do because of where they originate from, and where they originate from, their genetic makeup will support that. For example, Asian and Caucasian people originate predominantly from the colder regions of the world, right? Which is why they would typically have more cuticle layers to protect the innermost structure of the hair strands, specifically the cortex and the medulla. Again, if you have not seen my video on hair porosity and our cuticle layers, definitely check the cards above as well as in the description bar below, because we go further into that. But nonetheless, they will have more cuticle layers to protect the innermost part of the hair, which are the core components which is responsible for the shape, elasticity, and the moisture levels of the hair. So ethnic groups originating from colder regions genetically have more cuticle layers in their hair structure, which serve as a protective barrier, preserving the integrity of their hair in harsh moisture sapping conditions. Now, those of us who have Afro-textured hair or are of Afro origins, we are predominantly from the warmer regions and would have fewer cuticle layers to allow for optimal performance in our native environment, simply because we don't need to protect the innermost part of our hair from the harsh weather, because our hair is designed for our environment, for enhanced breathability, efficient hydration, making it easy for water to penetrate the strands, and also for improved absorption of nutrients from hair products such as, you know, the Hair We Grow hair oil, which will allow for deeper nourishment of the hair strand, especially in humid climates. So this is why we must consider the natural habitat of each ethnic groups when discussing hair type and hair care practices, because although we are all humans, we are all different and we have different genetics. Just like, for example, if you think about like a polar bear or anything like any other animal, but I'm just going to use polar bear for example, right? Now, if you think about a polar bear who lives in the cold regions of the world, but then you think about, I think, a grizzly bear that lives more in the more temperate areas, they have different, their bodies operate differently. Like, you couldn't put the polar bear in the warmer climate because they probably will find that they become too hot, like too quickly. But if you put a a grizzly bear, or one of the regular bears from the temperate areas in a colder region, their bodies wouldn't be able to thrive in that area, simply because even though both are bears, they are from two 2 different areas, and their genetic makeup will reflect on that, and they will be able to thrive in their environments, just like our hair and our ethnic origins, right? Those who are from the more temperate regions, they will have fewer cuticle layers in comparison to someone who is from the colder regions, who would have more cuticle layers, which is why when someone who's from the temperate areas are in the colder regions, their hair, talking about people now, their hair will operate differently in this particular setting. So considering that our natural habitats are typically warmer climate, the ability for our hair to breathe and easily absorb moisture from the air explains why we do not have low porosity hair, which is usually a more rigid, and has a more moisture locking structure, but more so we have medium to high porosity hair. Okay, so while having a lower cuticle count is perfect for the warmer weather, as our hair was created to be in a specific environment, the structure of our hair allows for a greater versatility, which includes better cooling in hot climates. Again, as I mentioned, breathability, as the heat can cause our cuticles to rise, so it allows for our hair to just have space rather than being like, you know, closed off, right? Also, it helps with facilitating easier styling and shaping, simply because the hair isn't so rigid, because more cuticle layers, it's harder to bend because, you know, it's stronger, and also it enables quicker absorption of nourishing treatments. However, this also means that because we have fewer cuticle layers, our hair requires specialized care to maintain its health and strength. Again, we are on the lower end of the spectrum when it comes to our hair's porosity, so extra care is needed to prevent damage. Also, we need to be mindful of harsh chemicals, and over processing should be avoided. Again, lower end of the spectrum. And also maintaining a regular moisturizing and strengthening treatments are very important for the integrity of our hair. Nonetheless, we have to remember that in the colder climates, this is going to leave our hair at a disadvantage, making it more susceptible to the moisture stripping effects of the cold weather, simply because we have fewer cuticle layers. So imagine if you only had 3 to 4 cuticle layers and we're in the winter months, right? It's quite easy for the moisture content of your hair to evaporate, because unlike someone with low porosity who have a lot of cuticle layers, it's going to keep the moisture in there. Again, this is why we cannot just follow the hair care routines of any and everybody on social media who doesn't have a similar hair profile to you or myself, you know, to us, as you not only have to consider the ethnic background, but you also have to consider their hair strand thickness. So that's whether they have coarse or fine hair strands, which ultimately determines where they would fall on the porosity spectrum, which once again we will dive into in another video. And also, this is why individuals of Caucasian and Asian backgrounds who have a higher cuticle count may not face the same challenges we do when it comes to the colder months. So with that, I hope you found today's video very informative, and if you did, please be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe if you're not already subscribed. And until the next one, I will be right back here with another video. Bye.